OMG, Bitcoin is absolutely skyrocketing. We're witnessing the first ever God trade. $10,000. US dollar Bitcoin price movement in just one day. We're seeing Bitcoin over 110,000 US dollars, at least for a very brief moment. And it looks like the inauguration speech from Donald Trump is about to be leaked here. And in it, a strategic Bitcoin reserve would be leaked. I think I'm totally losing it. I was just sleeping. I wanted to upload the video here now, the current Bitcoin video, but I see that the market situation has completely changed here. And we're seeing the absolute craziest Bitcoin price explosion ever. We've got the first God trade. A God trade means a $10,000 US dollar Bitcoin price move in one day. You can also see the chart progression here. On some exchanges, Bitcoin was even over 110,000 US dollars. Here it's 109,000 US dollars, but we have a $10,000 US dollar movement in one day. And here we have the news that there are indeed rumors that the inauguration speech would be leaked. And here a Bitcoin reserve strategy is included. These are all just rumors at the moment, so don't take this as confirmed information. But I'd say this is basically the rumor that's going around right now, that the Bitcoin price is escalating so massively. And if this keeps going like this, then we're going to see the absolute Bitcoin, Kong, Valhalla candle, or whatever you want to call it. Feel free to write in the comments below what kind of candle we might see today or tomorrow. Absolutely crazy. And the craziest part is, I had already recorded the video. I actually wanted to make a mountain of a video, because Bitcoin first crashed massively to under 90,000 US dollars. Now we're seeing the massive rise upwards. That's why this is the update for the video. Now comes the video that was actually relevant just 2 hours ago, where we dive into the manipulations by Donald Trump, Melania, and so on. Like here, the market massively flipped from top to bottom, doing a complete 360 degrees. It turned. So here it's really 360 degrees. Wait, we're bullish at first, then we were bearish, and now all of a sudden we're hyper bullish again. And now it's really taking off. And here are all the background details about Trump. The meeting with Cynthia Lummis, Donald Trump's advisory team met with Michael Saylor, a lot more. You're hearing that now.
Right now, we have massively bullish events happening in the Bitcoin space. At the same time, these events are overshadowed. Like Melania Trump, who is now launching her own shitcoin MP. This whole thing has completely shaken up the Bitcoin space. It's currently causing a lot of volatility and a ton of question marks here in the crypto space, but also in the Bitcoin space. In the meantime, Bitcoin has recovered a bit here. But the question still remains, if there's manipulation at play. I actually wanted to make an ultra bullish video, because Donald Trump has talked about Bitcoin again in his pre-inauguration speech. He even says here that the Bitcoin price and so on has gone up. He talks about the Bitcoin price here, proud that he himself has pumped up the Bitcoin price. He's taking credit for it himself. The credit for the rising Bitcoin price and also for a really, really good stock market. And everything looks so good. And at the same time, the shitcoins are coming in and mixing everything up. But we'll take a look at that in a minute. What's happening here is with the Melania coin. We also just saw Michael Saylor, who has now officially met with the Trump administration team has met here. And we have Cynthia Lummis, who actually met with Donald Trump. And here the likelihood is very high that they actually discussed an executive order in the end. So the signs actually look so good that an executive order was coming. That Bitcoin is going to get pumped up now, that Donald Trump is really going to push the regulations forward. And I was really convinced that this whole thing could actually happen. But now this whole thing is overshadowed by all the shitcoins, and from the looks of it. But it's not actually Donald Trump himself who's involved here. There's actually a team of advisors around Donald Trump that seems to be responsible for all the Trump coins, Melania coins. Now they're even about to launch a TikTok coin, after Donald Trump lifted the ban. So, it's definitely possible that the name rights of Donald Trump, Melania, and so on are just being misused to basically throw the whole crypto market into chaos. But let's take a look at this now. Let's first look at the bullish events that have happened, because this is really crazy. What's happening here? Donald Trump is actually talking about Bitcoin in his inauguration speech right before taking office. Listen closely to what he says. We'll also take a look at all the turbulent things later on that have happened here. And unfortunately, that kind of overshadows everything here.
That's nobody expressed to see. I don't want to say it. It's too breaking, but I should say it.
We'll say it anyway. The Trump effect.
It's you. You're the effect. Since the election, the stock market has surged. And small business optimism hit a record of 41 points, marking a 39-year high. Bitcoin has been smashing one record after another.
So, he's talking about the positive rally in the stock markets, and also in the business markets, and here with Bitcoin too. Is this thanks to Donald Trump? Or rather the Trump effect, which he also kind of imposes on the people here. He says, hey, it's because of you that I'm so awesome here at the start, and because of you, there's the Trump effect. And he also says that Bitcoin has been hitting one record high after another since the Trump election, and that Bitcoin is now going to the moon. And Donald Trump seems to have already. Well, there are a few insiders who have said that. Scaramucci confirmed it again in the interview. He apparently also said that he wants to pump the Bitcoin price up. Because, as you can hear in the speech here, he sees a massive indicator of his success here. His term in office is about having a high Bitcoin price, but also a high one. Stock market price, at least that's what you can gather from Scaramucci. And you can kind of infer that from the speech here. Maybe. What was also positive is that Trump didn't mention crypto in the speech, but specifically only talked about Bitcoin. I have to honestly say, I watched the whole speech. He only mentioned it very briefly. He mentioned Bitcoin. He didn't talk more about Bitcoin. In the end, during a really long speech, he only briefly mentioned Bitcoin. Bitcoin was thrown into the mix. So, but shouldn't we also not overinterpret it? And what's also interesting, Donald Trump says he will also stop inflation. He also said that? I mean, Bitcoin would definitely be a suitable means, but I don't think that's what he meant by that. He just said that he would also stop inflation. He then went on to talk about other things, what he will publish here, and blah 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 and so on. That was all exciting, interesting, and it looks like Donald Trump really has a lot planned here. Some are expecting 50, some are expecting 100 executive orders, and one of those could also be Bitcoin. But I really don't like what's happening here right now. But we'll get into that later, because before we get to the negative points, we have more major things that have happened. Gary Gensler is no longer in office, which should actually be seen positively by the Bitcoin market. But the news isn't being received positively here at all, because at the same time, Melania's meme coin has come out, where we'll get into that shortly. Then we actually have a meeting between Michael Saylor and the Trump administration. That means, at least here at Bitcoin Archive, I haven't found any other sources on this yet. But apparently, the Trump administration has met with Michael Saylor. Even though it seems like Michael Saylor never gets to meet Donald Trump in person, he is at least in contact with the advisory team. So what's this all about? It's probably going to be about a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So we really have both sides now. We've got the ultra bullish stuff. Donald Trump is talking about Bitcoin. He's meeting here with Michael Saylor, or rather, the administration is meeting here with Michael Saylor. And what's even crazier is that he actually just met with Senator Cynthia Lummis. And Cynthia Lummis is known for her Bitcoin reserve proposal and also for the Bitcoin bill that she has prepared, which would essentially buy 1 million Bitcoin. And they met here. And the probability that you were talking about Bitcoin here is also very high. Because from what I can tell about Cynthia Lummis, if she gets the chance to talk to Donald Trump, then she'll definitely use every second here to orange pill Donald Trump to basically make it clear, hey, it's important that we need a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Cynthia Lummis would even go so far as to sell gold in the US and buy Bitcoin with it. And Cynthia Lummis knows exactly why a strategic Bitcoin reserve is important. Cynthia Lummis isn't into shitcoins either. She'll definitely take Donald Trump aside here, if you have the time. Don't choose any crypto. Avoid shitcoins. Choose Bitcoin. You should be making history and not start with shitcoins. But why you really need to focus on Bitcoin right now? This is really, really important right now. A lot of people are currently losing their focus. They're getting lost in some random shitcoins. And yes, you can do that. I don't want to argue against that either. But you just have to make one thing clear. Bitcoin is the flagship here. It's here to stay. The decentralized, self-sovereign, money that separates state and money and everything else. Those are meme coins, just some, I don't know, total nonsense. Just like the whole Melania thing, I almost wanted to say crap. And Trump meme coin and whatever else is out there now. TikTok meme coin and whatever else is coming. We're going to take a closer look at it right now. But you really have to make that distinction, and that's why it's important. That Bitcoin-only folks like Cynthia Lummis and Michael Saylor are also actively engaging with Donald Trump here. Meet with the administration here. Dennis Porter says about the current events that Trump should keep his promise tomorrow. So his promise is not to sell any Bitcoin here. And then he says here, he should keep the promise by at least ending the routine Bitcoin auctions. No presidential decree is required for that. He can issue an executive memorandum and instruct the Attorney General to suspend the auctions. We made it even easier for Trump and created it ourselves. And then he added that at the bottom. So, Dennis Porter says here, it doesn't necessarily require an executive order to just issue certain things. I don't know if this means SAP 1.2.1, what he meant by that rule or what exactly he was referring to. So if someone wants to buy Bitcoin, 1 million Bitcoins, like Cynthia Lummis said, then it probably does require an executive order. He probably didn't mean that here, but there might be smaller things here. Regulatory things that can also be done without an executive order. And he also says here, Donald Trump should keep his promise. Because he basically promised it here, according to Dennis Porter. I don't quite remember what he said back then. I only know that he said he wouldn't sell the Bitcoin. Did he promise a strategic Bitcoin reserve here? I can't confirm that. He said we're going to make a stockpile. We're basically going to convert the Bitcoins that are already in the inventory. Convert here. I don't know if he said that he'll do it on the very first day. So that means if he doesn't do it on the first day, then he doesn't necessarily need an executive order. But Dennis Porter definitely says that to keep the promise. He must be here. Deliver right on the first day and at least, what's it called here? Issue a presidential order, an executive memorandum or something like that. I'm really curious to see what's coming. What's coming will be. Maybe the executive order will actually come after all. And now everything looks so good. And then things happen, like suddenly the Trump coin crashes massively. Bitcoin crashes too, after the Melania coin was launched here. And like I said, I'm not sure about this. 100% sure whether Trump even knows about this or if he's just being taken advantage of. British Hodl also talked about it again. Hey, you guys shouldn't judge Trump too harshly here. He might not have anything to do with it at all because he just sold his licenses for the name. And there probably aren't any clauses that say you can't launch any coins or products here 30 days before or after the inauguration. You can launch any coins or products here. And here Robin H. DNX also has something to say about it. Trump advisor Ryan Fournier just launched a TikTok coin and then it got rug pulled. Now Melania, Donald Trump's wife, has also launched a coin. This is all just a fever dream. So we're seeing one rug pull after another. Rug pull basically means that there are very, very large holdings of these coins in the hands of the developers. We're also seeing this with the Melania coin. I checked it out earlier. Was it 90% or 88%? 80%. They're all in a single wallet. That means there's a single wallet that holds 88% of the coins or something like that. And that's obviously massively dangerous because at any moment, the coin can get rug pulled. That means as soon as new people come in, coins will just be sold from the developer's wallet. And then systematically, the money gets switched around from the buyers who are basically buying the rug pull, who are buying the Scaramucci, to the people who are already sitting on the sidelines. And then in the end, just sell the coins and line their pockets. With the Trump coin, we've seen similar movements. That big wallets have also sold off their Bitcoin and basically taken their profits. And here you really have to be super careful. What's going on here? I don't want to say that it's criminal. I don't necessarily want to say that it's a Scaramucci, because the people are buying it voluntarily. But you really have to be careful. There are really some very shady things happening here. There's also something going on in the background with the Kobe C letter. Can I link it for you down below? You can still see that very clearly. Check it out. How some of the movements here were really, really shady, happening at just the right times and moments. When it comes to the Trump and also the Melania coins, the coins are basically being traded very precisely. Exactly right, bought and sold, and so on. So it's really, really shady what's happening here. You really have to be super careful here. And if they were just shitcoins and stuff, then I'd say, okay, hey, do whatever you want with the shitcoins. But all of this really casts a very, very dark shadow over the whole Bitcoin space. And a lot of people are really laughing their asses off right now. Ha! The Bitcoin president, he's not going to do anything about Bitcoin here, but he's going to put on a huge shit show here. But we need to differentiate between Donald Trump and hold on. Here too, with the advisory team he has and basically the people around him. It could really be that Donald Trump is just being used here. And here, Donald Trump himself is the one pulling the strings. But, like I said, I can't confirm that. These are just things that currently look this way. Florian Kostler also had a very interesting take on this. He says here, after the last 48 hours, it should be clear. In the US, there won't be a strategic Bitcoin reserve. In 2025, Trump is going to try to build a shitcoin reserve. A pinch of Bitcoin, so there will be a little bit of Bitcoin in there, but no massive Bitcoin holdings. So, a pinch of Bitcoin Ripple, Chitano, HBR. I don't even know what HBR is. Trump coin. And, yeah, probably Melania coin or something else. The state and the monetary system should be separated. But that's going to take a while. In the end, this is a very sobering assessment. That means a Bitcoin reserve might eventually come, but along with a huge shitcoin reserve. It could also be that something completely different happens later. We don't see a shitcoin reserve. But as we currently see the focus here really isn't on Bitcoin. I mean, what gives a bit of hope? Donald Trump only talked about Bitcoin in his speech here, not about shitcoins. That means I still have in the back of my mind that Donald Trump is really just caught up in a big game here. And here, actually, the pawn is here and not at all. The player is the one who is pulling the strings behind all the shitcoin stories here. I can really imagine it being very, very difficult when Donald Trump is up on stage here, giving an inauguration speech. And in the background, shitcoins are being launched. I hardly think he has any influence there, because that would really be launched pretty much parallel to his inauguration speech. And I can't imagine that he's somehow on the side, I don't know, tweeting, launching some shitcoins or something like that behind the scenes. But everything has to be automated, running in the background. And he definitely has people who are involved with the team here and who either advise him very, very bad, advise him, or even actually abuse him. But like I said, we need to keep a close eye on all of this in the coming days. So on one hand, we have these ultra bullish things happening. And on the other hand, there are massively bearish things that are overshadowing everything. That really makes you wonder if we're living in a matrix. In a shitcoin matrix, in a comedy matrix, in a clown show matrix. I don't know what words to use for that. If you want to buy Bitcoin here and focus on Bitcoin, you want what I would always recommend. Because of the whole shitcoin show that's happening here. You really have to. It's very, very, let's say, really question and also criticize it. If you definitely want to buy Bitcoin from a Bitcoin-only provider, then I'll put a link down below too. 21 Bitcoin, how you can easily buy Bitcoin safely. Here, you can use the code Bitcoin to get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. Let me know what you think about the massive movements. See you later. Peace out.